Story 1. When the weekend rolled around, I decided to head out and camp by this creek I'd heard about from a buddy. It was supposed to be peaceful, tucked away in the middle of nowhere, perfect for a little escape from everything. The drive there was long, but I didn't mind. I had my music blasting, snacks in the passenger seat. It was shaping up to be a great trip. When I got to the spot, it was just as my buddy described, quiet, with nothing but trees, grass, and the sound of the creek bubbling away. The sun was setting, and the light danced on the water like little sparks. Beautiful, right? I parked the car, set up my tent, and got everything ready. It wasn't much. A simple tent, a little camping stove, and a foldable chair. After dinner, I pulled out my lantern, set it on a log, and just sat there, soaking in the night. The stars were out in full force, and the cool air was the kind that makes you breathe a little deeper. Perfect. Now, I don't know what it was, maybe the vibe of the place or how quiet it got all of a sudden, but something just felt off. At first, I shrugged it off. Probably just me being out here alone and letting my imagination run wild, right? I mean, what could possibly happen? Anyway, I was sitting there when I heard it, the faint sound of water splashing. It wasn't much, just this soft, rhythmic splish-splash coming from the creek a little ways off. I told myself it was probably an animal, maybe a deer or something. But the sound kept going, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't just some random animal. Curiosity got the better of me, so I grabbed my flashlight and made my way toward the creek. The light bobbed around as I walked, casting long shadows across the trees and bushes. I kept telling myself I was being silly, but my heart was pounding anyway. The closer I got, the louder the splashing became. It wasn't frantic or anything, just steady, like someone was playing in the water. When I finally reached the creek, I stopped dead in my tracks. There was someone there, crouched by the water. The flashlight wasn't strong enough to make out much, just a dark shape hunched over, splashing water onto its face. For a second, I thought maybe it was another camper. Maybe they'd had a rough hike and were cooling off. But there was something about the way they moved that felt wrong, too smooth, almost like they were on autopilot. "Hey!" I called out, trying to sound casual. "You good?" No answer. The figure just kept splashing water, like it didn't hear me. I took a step closer, shining the flashlight directly on them. That's when it froze. Slowly, it turned its head to look at me. I swear, my blood turned to ice right then and there. The light hit its face, and there was nothing. No eyes, no mouth, no nose, just smooth, pale skin where a face should have been. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the flashlight. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing. I mean, how could something like that even exist? It didn't make sense. The figure just stared, or at least I think it was staring. Without eyes, how could I tell? But I felt it, this heavy, suffocating pressure, like it was looking right through me. My heart was hammering in my chest, but I couldn't move. I was frozen, stuck there like a deer in headlights. And then it did the creepiest thing. It tilted its head, like it was trying to figure me out. The way it moved was so slow, so deliberate, it made my skin crawl. Finally, my fight or flight kicked in, and I bolted back toward the car. My legs felt like jelly, and the flashlight beam bounced wildly as I ran. I could hear the sound of my own breathing, loud and ragged, but nothing else. No footsteps, no splashing, just silence. When I reached the car, I yanked the door open, jumped inside, and locked it. I sat there panting, with my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. My head was spinning, and I kept glancing at the windows, half expecting to see that faceless thing peering in. But nothing happened. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, staring into the darkness, listening to the faint sound of the creek in the distance. Every rustle of leaves or snap of a twig made me jump. I wanted to leave, but driving in the dark after seeing that thing? No way. When the first light of dawn finally broke, I felt like I could breathe again. The world outside the car looked normal, calm even. I mustered up the courage to step out and pack up my stuff, but when I got to the creek, there were no signs of anyone or anything having been there. I told myself it was over, that it was probably just my imagination. But as I threw my gear into the car, I noticed something that made my stomach drop, a trail of wet footprints leading from the creek to the car. They stopped right at the driver's side door. I didn't even bother folding the tent or securing anything properly. I just threw it all in, jumped into the car, and took off. The whole drive home, I kept glancing at the rearview mirror, half expecting to see something following me. I haven't been camping since. Whatever that thing was, I don't want to meet it again. Story 2. I had packed my tent, sleeping bag, and some snacks. I didn't plan much, just wanted to find a nice spot in the woods to set up and chill. My friend was supposed to come with me, but he bailed last minute. Said something about his girlfriend needing help, moving furniture or whatever. So, it was just me. No big deal. I was used to going solo. I found a spot about an hour's drive from my place. It wasn't marked on any map. Just a little dirt road leading off the highway and into the woods. Perfect. The trees were tall and thick, and there was a clearing big enough to pitch my tent and start a fire. I even had a little stream nearby. It was the kind of place where you could pretend the rest of the world didn't exist. By the time I got everything set up, the sun was already starting to set. The colors in the sky were insane, all reds and orange. I made a little fire, ate some jerky, and just sat there watching the flames dance. It was nice, quiet, peaceful. At least, it was until I started hearing noises. Now I know the woods are full of sounds. Animals scurrying around, branches creaking, leaves rustling. That's normal. But this wasn't normal. It wasn't loud or anything, but it was weird. Like soft footsteps circling my campsite. I couldn't see anything when I looked around, just darkness outside the reach of my firelight. I told myself it was probably a deer, or maybe a raccoon sniffing around. Nothing to freak out about, right? So, I did what any smart camper would do. I ignored it. I crawled into my tent, zipped up my sleeping bag, and lay there listening to the crackling of the fire outside. For a while, everything was fine. The footsteps had stopped, and I started to relax. I was even about to fall asleep when I heard something. It was faint, barely a whisper, but I swear I heard it. A voice. Hello? It was so soft I thought I imagined it. But then I heard it again. Hello? This time it was closer. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my chest. I wanted to sit up, to unzip the tent and look outside, but I couldn't move. My whole body felt frozen. All I could do was lie there and listen. The voice didn't come again. Instead, I heard the footsteps, slow and loud, crunching over the fallen leaves. They got closer and closer until they stopped right outside my tent. I don't know how long I lay there, holding my breath and staring at the tent flap. But eventually, for some reason, my eyes were starting to get very heavy. I must have fallen asleep. When I woke up, the sun was just starting to rise, and everything was eerily quiet. The first thing I noticed was that my sleeping bag felt weird. It was damp, cold, and slightly unzipped, even though I was sure I'd zipped it up all the way the night before. My head was pounding, and my mouth tasted like ash, like I'd been chewing on burnt wood. Gross. I crawled out of the tent, and that's when I saw it. The ground outside my tent was disturbed. The dirt was scuffed up, and there were drag marks leading away from my tent and back again, like someone had pulled me out during the night and then put me back. My fire was out, but the ashes looked strange. There were symbols drawn around the pit, like little spirals and crosses. I didn't remember doing that. Hell, I didn't even have anything to draw with. I tried to tell myself it was just a dream, that I must have been half asleep and imagining things, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I packed up as fast as I could. The whole time, I felt like I was being watched. Every now and then, I'd look over my shoulder, but there was nothing there, just trees and shadows. The drive back home felt like it took forever. My head was still pounding, and no amount of water or gum could get rid of that burnt taste in my mouth. By the time I got home, I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. That night, I dreamed about the woods. I was back in the tent, but this time, I could see what was outside. There was a figure standing just beyond the firelight. It was tall, with long limbs and a head that seemed too big for its body. Its eyes glowed faintly, like embers, and its mouth was too wide, stretching from ear to ear. In the dream, it reached out to me with one of its long arms, and I woke up screaming. It's been a while since that camping trip. At night, I hear soft footsteps outside my window. Sometimes I think I hear whispers, but when I go to look, there's nothing there. I haven't gone camping since, and I don't think I ever will again. Thank you for listening to this video. I'll see you in the next one.